Cardinals get set to host Ron Mercer and the defending national champs from Kentucky. Mercer, one of two Wildcats, averaging better than 20 points per game. Derek Anderson is the other one. Both teams have won 10 in a row. This one should be fun. Way to get set for New Year's. A fierce interstate rivalry resumes today at Freedom Hall. Kentucky Blue collides with Cardinal Red. Only 71 miles separate these two Kentucky basketball hotbeds, but today Ron Mercer and the champs have made the trip from Lexington to Louisville to take on DeJuan Wheat and the unbeaten Cardinals. Welcome to sold-out and deafening Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky today for what should be a great game. 10-1 Kentucky, 10-0 Louisville. This one should be great. Hi, everybody. Dan Schulman and Len Elmer with you. Happy New Year's, everybody. And what a great game this should be. And a great homecoming as well. One of the best players on Kentucky right here in front of the hometown fans.
And that player is Derek Anderson, the 6'5 senior. He comes home with a great deal of familiarity with the Cardinal players. But he's also an excellent defender, 21 points, 4 rebounds. He's going to have to show something to the home folks today.
Another hometown guy, DeJuan Wheat, does a lot of the scoring for Louisville. Who else has to step up for the Cardinals to win this game?
Well, certainly Kentucky's going to try to make DeJuan Wheat give up the ball. And if that happens, Alvin Sims, 6'4 senior, is going to have to step up quickly. Over the last 5 games, he's averaged 15 points and 6 rebounds. He's the kind of guy that can get it going very quickly.
Both teams have been on a roll. Louisville's won 3 overtime games this year, whereas Kentucky, well, they've been blowing people out just like they did last year. But listen to the noise and get a load of the atmosphere here at Freedom Hall as we show you the lineups. First for the visiting Wildcats, Anthony Epps, a real steady point guard, an assist-to-turnover ratio of almost 4-1 this year as he runs the offense for Rick Pitino. And for the unbeaten Louisville Cardinals, Denny Crum in his 26th year. Alex Sanders is giving up some height in the middle, but he's got the bulk, 6'7", 260. He has to stay out of foul trouble for the Cardinals to have a shot at winning this game. For many, many years, Louisville and Kentucky, if you can believe it, did not play. 24 years, in fact, and they didn't play in the regular season for more than 60 years. Kentucky has won 5 of the last 6, Len, but the last time they played here 2 years ago, Louisville came out on top.
Well, Louisville likes this style of play. Last year in a losing effort, Alvin Sims, the guy we talked about at the top of the show, 23 points. They like to play this up-tempo game, and you can bet Rick Pitino is going to give it to him.
What a job he has done. The national championship last year, 2 Final Fours, 4 Final Eights, all in his first 7 years at Kentucky. And Denny Crum, one of only 3 active coaches in the Basketball Hall of Fame, alongside Dean Smith and Bobby Knight. Now, at the outset, we were led to believe that Kentucky might have 30, 40, 50% of the seats in here, but it's got to be 95% Cardinal Red here at Freedom Hall as we are underway, and it is taken right away by the Wildcats and Ron Mercer. Anderson pushes it inside. Nazim Mohammed getting a start, left it short, and the ball is turned over to Louisville. This is DeJuan Wheat, averaging better than 20 points per game.
But right now, Kentucky's playing their signature man-to-man. Look for them to try to double on Sims whenever he receives down low.
He couldn't get a clean shot off from the baseline. And back come the Wildcats. Anderson. Neither team has yet had a good look at the basket. DeJuan Wheat. Offensive foul.
Right now, you can bet both teams are playing on emotion. DeJuan Wheat, again, in front of his hometown crowd, a little bit out of control. But he recognizes that every opportunity he has to make something happen, he has to take advantage of it.
Wheat guarding Anthony Epps at the point. Scott Padgett getting a start. Nice look. And Derek Anderson from right here in Louisville has the first 2 points of the day for Kentucky.
Well, what's happening right now is that Kentucky is settling down a little bit into a half-court set. Nice reverse pivot by Derek Anderson.
Going to be a lot on his mind today coming back here. Kentucky did play Indiana in this building earlier this year, and Anderson torched the Hoosiers for 30.
Kentucky changes up their defense a little bit, a 1-3-1 zone, and that pretty much works to Louisville's favor, forces them to settle down a little.
Nate Johnson on the follow. Gets it again, baseline jumper, and jamming it in is Alex Sanders to tie the game.
Coming into today's game, everyone believed that Louisville was undersized up front, but those guys play over the rim, both Johnson and Sanders getting up to keep it alive.
Lob inside for Padgett, stripped to the ball, and it's over to the Cardinals.
Take a look again at the play before on offense for Kentucky. A nice reverse pivot, but we talked about the undersized front line, and you take a look at Sanders coming right down the lane, no block out by Kentucky.
Sanders from outside. He's going to try to pull Muhammad or McClure, whoever's guarding him out there. Couldn't hit that shot. It's always in control, trying to get the offense going for the Wildcats. Epps penetrates. Off to Mercer. Crowd wanted to walk but didn't get it. 10 on the shot clock. Mercer. Rebound Louisville. And they're on the run. Sims in traffic. Rebound Muhammad.
Both teams thrive on this transition game, but they have to get under control.
How about Derek Anderson again? And a foul.
You talk about getting under control, that'll get your attention. Nice fast break. You take a look here. Nice pass by Epps on the bounce. Right where Anderson can handle it. There's really nothing you can do about that.
What an early statement being made here. Denny Crum doesn't like it. Derek Anderson with 2 power dunks, accounting for all 4 Kentucky points. And as he stepped up his game, and this is senior season.
Now the pressure by Kentucky, something that Louisville has worked on. And one of the things look for Louisville to do is a double weed as we see there and try to keep the ball out of his hands. Now they're going to try to deny him for the rest of this set. Not a good job by Mercer right there.
Weed on the baseline, finds the open man Sims outside.
Sanders at the top. He's the conduit for this offense. A good passer, plus he has that three-point range.
Tough shot. But underneath, Dantzler the offensive rebound, and Muhammad got him underneath.
One of the keys to success for Louisville is to not only be able to block out on the defensive boards, but to use their quickness on the offensive board. That time, Dantzler beats Epps to the spot. Epps in the rotation should have been down to cover Dantzler and block him out. But Dantzler quick to the board, quick to the corner, goes up strong and draws the foul.
5-2 Kentucky. Damian Dantzler, a 6'7" junior at Westinghouse High in Chicago.
Came on strong in the middle of last year and has been a starter ever since. The last 32 games played by Louisville, he's been a fixture at the forward spot.
And a nice looking stroke from the line. Just 62% coming in, but 2 for 2 there. The Cardinals are back within 1. Mercer walks. Both coaches are into it in the early going, no doubt there. The shoot-around today for Kentucky, you were mentioning that Rick Pitino really seemed to be trying to fire up his team as if they weren't emotionally enough into this game.
Well, they seem to come in with a little bit of indulgence, but as soon as Rick raised his voice, you see all the eyes light up, and everybody got to playing the way they should have, practicing the way they should have.
Sanders on the baseline. And he threw it away, but Anderson couldn't handle it. Now Sims on the move. Tough bounce pass won't work. And Anderson is off to the races again. He's got all 7. Derek Anderson comes home to Louisville and drives the Cats into an early lead. Derek Anderson with all 7 points in the early going for Kentucky, including 3 dunks, and it's 7-4 Cats.
Well, we talked about the idea of Alvin Sims being able to handle the pressure if they couldn't get it back to Dwan Wheat. And we saw Wheat wide open on the wing. Sims couldn't handle it, and it turns into 2 points for Kentucky. Alvin Sims has to recognize that he's got to play within himself. He's got to be that second playmaker if Dwan Wheat is going to be denied the ball.
And there's a common thread through all the Kentucky wins, all the Kentucky games. They force the turnovers, and they capitalize on the turnovers.
And what the pressure does, both full court and half court, it fatigues you physically, certainly, but also mentally. And I think that's what Louisville has to worry about, having played a double overtime game this past Sunday.
Louisville also not as deep a team as Kentucky. Dwan Wheat running the show for the Cardinals. Here's Nate Johnson, a talented freshman who has started every game this year for Louisville. Now Dantzler puts it on the floor and threw it away. Over in the back, and another turnover, number 3, committed by Louisville.
See, the problem I have with the way Sanders went after the ball is, again, now Kentucky gets the ball under their basket as opposed to grabbing it early and maybe at half court where you can set up a defense.
Mercer to inbound, and he finds Anderson. Each of them averaging better than 20 points per game. Padgett posting on the smaller Johnson. Gets it. Nice look for Mohammed. Puts it on the floor and scores.
When you think about Kentucky, you think about their unselfish play. Every player out on the floor for them is an excellent passer and is willing to find the open man.
Nazi Mohammed getting a start today. He's dropped 65 pounds since enrolling at Kentucky and getting better and better each time out.
Wow, maybe he should be right in a weight reduction book.
From 6'10", over 300, he's now 6'10", 240.
Rick Pitino likes to say the title of the book should be Fear Causes Weight Reduction. He knew he wouldn't play unless he dropped those pounds.
Sims from outside drains the 3. That's not really his game, but he finds one here.
Well, that's going to do a lot to open up some of the driving lanes for him, which is his forte.
9-7 Kentucky. Padgett wanted Mohammed, couldn't find him. And knocked out of bounds by Wheat. Still Kentucky ball, but the crowd loves the effort on defense by the Cardinals.
And particularly with Alex Sanders inside, giving away about 4 inches on Nazim Muhammad. Does a nice job of siding him and fronting him. That's pretty much slowed the Kentucky offense down.
Padgett, another Louisville native in the Kentucky starting lineup. 3 seconds against the Wildcats.
A taste of their own medicine. Rick Pitino recognizes that Louisville coming out with a much more pressure-packed half-court defense. Scott Padgett, this is only his 4th game, not really accustomed to what's going on here.
He's back from academic difficulties and missed the first semester. Cardinals can time, perhaps take the lead. Wheat looks for the jumper, and he's tied it up.
Such a sweet setup by Dwan Wheat that time, using his picks well.
Wheat, the senior, doing it all for Louisville this year. Anderson gets free underneath. Acrobatic move, but Sims altered the shot, and now the Cardinals can take the lead.
I don't know how Alvin Sims avoided a foul on that last play.
Turnover. Mohammed looks for a ball handler and finds Epps. Inside, Mohammed left alone, and a pretty move underneath. He's got 4.
What Louisville needs right now is they need some poise from someone other than Dwan Wheat when you're handling the ball and facing the pressure. When you're getting doubled, somebody's open. Right now, Kentucky is trying to play a little bit of matchup zone.
Scott Padgett commits the foul.
But But in the matchup, when you have a cross of the ball, there's going to be a double team. The person who has the ball has to be brave enough, have enough courage to take the double team and find the open person.
As much as you may have played against it before or watched it on television, do you ever get used to this kind of pressure?
Yeah, you actually do. You can't worry about the setup. Here, I talked about the sweet setup by Wheat. He forces his man down, uses the pick nicely, and then receives wide open. B.J. Flynn with the ball into the game now for the Cardinals. He's another senior, a former walk-on, and he's a shooter. Threw it underneath, and Nate Johnson hammered under the basket. And not only is B.J. Flynn a shooter, but judging from that pass, he's a basketball player. That time he broke out cleanly to the wing, and he gave the ball to the baseline side. Watch the receive now. Inside, Johnson locked his man. The baseline side was open, and that's where Flynn fed him. Nice play. Jarrett Prickett, Allen Edwards, and Wayne Turner have all come into the game for Kentucky. Flynn will drive. He's not afraid to get in there. Mohammed goes down hard. The ball's still loose. And is it another one on Prickett? Wayne Turner has picked up the foul. His first. Prickett picked one up just a moment ago. Again, we talked about poise in the half-court set. That's something that Louisville has to find. What a play by Turner to come down with the ball. He takes it all the way. Mohammed's got two more on the follow. Give Nazir Mohammed 6 early points. And I can tell you the fatigue factor is starting to work from a physical standpoint on Louisville. That time, only 3 guys crossed the half-court line in that transition play for Louisville. Couple players getting set to check in. Sims, one of them coming back in for Louisville. Dantzler, the soft jumper. 2-point lead, Kentucky. Well, we talked about overplaying DeJuan Wheat, not letting him receive. Excellent job by Epps. And then on the drive, you see only 3 guys, 4 guys for Kentucky, only 3 guys for Louisville in that paint. 2 other guys were laying back, and I can tell you right now, they're tired. Denny Crum recognized it. He's making the substitutions. Kentucky to inbound. Allen Edwards, great 6th man for the Wildcats. Prickett almost lost it. A foul is called on Eric Johnson, a 6'3" sophomore out of Cincinnati who has checked into the game for the Cardinals. Timeout on the floor. A whole lot of intensity in the early going and a 2-point Kentucky lead.
Now, the way to save money is less people doing more work.
And a close start to this game. Kentucky leading Louisville by just 2 in the early going here at Freedom Hall. Hey, if it happens in sports, find out all about it on ESPN News. The first ever 24-hour all-sports news network goes beyond the latest scores and highlights. To get ESPN News, call your local cable operator or satellite program provider. Now, Kentucky's going to force their turnovers, and 5 turnovers into 10 points. Can't do much better than that. Well, Kentucky is very efficient. Once they get the ball off of a turnover, they get out in the break. Guys know which lanes to run, and they look for each other. Prickett left alone, but blocked from behind by Sims. And Louisville making quite a statement underneath the basket, really challenging those Kentucky shots. Tie game, send no basket. It's waved off. The official says that McGlure fouled Sanders before the shot was put up. But excellent ball movement and movement without the ball by Louisville. First on McGlure, in for Mohammed. Inbounds play for the Cardinals. They find Wheat. You get the feeling DeJuan Wheat might be going 40 minutes in this game. Had to alter the shot. Ended up passing it off to Sanders. Eric Johnson trying to get free. Plenty of time on the shot clock. And this is what I mean by poise, Dan. Recognizing they didn't have a shot, they got it back outside to their main man and let him run the show. Got in trouble, though. Got in too deep and turned it over to McGlure. No sooner than you say it. Turnover number 6 committed by Louisville in less than 9 minutes. Turner swatted away. Sims on the run. To the basket. It's tied. Rick Pitino's about to call a 20-second timeout because he recognized
realizes that that's the thing that he feared the most, Louisville's transition offense. Take a look at Alvin Sims right now leading the break. We talked about his athletic ability. That time a shake and bake. He's asserting himself now, and that's what we mean by poise. Rick Pitino has to make his guys understand they've, one, got to take care of the ball, but more importantly, his big people have to go to the basket stronger. They're getting shots blocked and shots tipped when they should be getting to the free throw line.
Louisville credited with just one block, but they've altered 3 or 4 more in the early going. Alvin Sims with 5 to lead Louisville. Derek Anderson with 7 to lead Kentucky. Wayne Turner tries to penetrate. That's his game. Knocked out of bounds, and it's over to the Cardinals. And now Kentucky will contest the inbounds pass. Still Louisville ball. It hit the foot of Allen Edwards, and the Cardinals are fortunate. Now B.J. Flynn's going to get a share of the ball handling duties.
Right now an opportunity to rest Dewan Wheat, not force him to bring the ball up full court. Also gets him involved in the offense.
Good hands by Mercer. Mohammed comes up with the loose ball, but some sloppy play both ways. It's right back over to Louisville. Seven turnovers by Louisville, 6 by Kentucky.
But right here, might have been a foul on Ron Mercer, but again, that's not ready to receive. And that's a mental error.
Wheat for 3.
You know what I like about Dewan Wheat? He's not forcing the game. He's letting it come to him. That's the sign of a savvy point guard, a cool point guard. And that's what you need in order to beat this Kentucky pressure.
And it's a 3-point Louisville lead. Mercer baseline, can't get a shot off. 10 on the shot clock. Mercer's got a mismatch with Wheat down low. But a clear out for Anderson. Missed the 3. Louisville's got it. And there's the poise you talked about.
It's just simple recognition of when you have numbers, when you have an advantage.
Underneath going against the Cardinals. No, it's a 3-second violation, excuse me, going against Louisville. Epps back into the game for Turner.
Coming into this game, Kentucky felt that they could manhandle Alex Sanders at 6'7". You see, there might have been a foul call, but prior to that 3 seconds, Sanders is holding his own in the paint.
Hold underneath. No basket. B.J. Flynn picks up the foul. This guy's got a distinct Kentucky connection, although he plays for Louisville.
Yep, his dad, Mike Flynn, pretty good ball player in his own right at Kentucky in the mid-'70s. Also a teammate of mine at the Indiana Pacers. And B.J. plays a lot like his dad, hard-nosed, ready to take on anybody, and in love with the jump shot.
Less than 9 minutes to go in the first half. The Cardinals, on the strength of 5 points from both Sims and Wheat, lead 16-13. Anderson stole it, kept it alive. Mercer, Paget, Derek Anderson, his 4th dunk of the game.
We talked about Kentucky understanding once they receive possession of the ball in transition, guys know where to go. Excellent break. Paget ready to receive and pushed it out to Anderson.
Anderson's got 9. Mohammed's got 6, and that's it. Those are all 15 points for Kentucky. Mercer has yet to really get involved in the offense.
Kentucky changing the defenses. We talked about the physical fatigue. This also creates mental fatigue.
Good hands by Mohammed. Mercer into a crowd. Look at the quick reaction. Anderson gets it up and he takes off.
Paget with the nice pass as Anderson flew down the sideline. But again, to have a successful transition offense from defense, you've got to have people who are willing to make that change very quickly.
Alex Sanders sitting down for Louisville as Epps misses the baseline jumper, but Paget tips it back up and in. And one more time, Kentucky now has the lead by 1. We better watch out. Anderson chasing him. No call. And now we do have a whistle. Absolutely impossible to hear the whistle, much less what the calls are in here. 17-16 Cats.
My son insisted we try America Online. I said, what's in it for us? Now I know better. America Online makes our lives easier.
Getting outshot and turning the ball over 10 times. Louisville is only down by a single point to Kentucky here in the first half. And more great, exciting top 25 action coming up tonight on ESPN. Player of the Year, Tim Duncan. Number 2, Wake Forest. Keith Van Horn, he's a Player of the Year candidate as well. Number 7, Utah from the Huntsman Center, 9:30 Eastern. Tonight, New Year's Eve on ESPN. Anthony Epps, one of the seniors on this team. If he turns toward us, you'll see that his right eye is swollen. He also picked up 5 stitches. He was punched in an incident a couple of nights ago, reportedly by a Kentucky football player. Epps was apparently talking to a woman who the football player knew, and that resulted in the football player busting into an apartment and punching Epps. Rick Pitino stands by his player completely. And Epps, who has yet to talk about it, will do so after this game tonight, we're told. Pitino says it looks a lot worse than it is, and Epps is fine to play. A little long on the 3. Anderson. And Flynn got him as Anderson elevated for the offensive board. And that's number 2 on B.J. Flynn.
What's happened right now is with Alex Sanders on the bench, he's been the bulwark of the rebounding effort by Louisville. And with him on the bench, Louisville's having a hard time putting bodies on people. You take a look at Epps right now, and that right eye does not look too good.
He was apparently knocked unconscious by the punch.
So the problem today is that, you know, there's got to be better ways to reach understandings and to mediate differences. The violence it's got to stop.
Flynn has gone to the bench with his second foul. Alvin Sims is checked back in for Louisville. Sanders still on the bench in favor of Bozak Smith.
It's even more important right now for Louisville to be able to control the tempo of this game, get good shots, get the board covered, and certainly fundamentally block out. Kentucky very quick on the board right now.
Nice look by Johnson. Smith can't get it. And the follow no good either. And now Alvin Sims with a reach-in foul. And that'll be number 2 on him.
Silly foul by Alvin Sims. Kentucky already had possession of the ball. Right now, he's one of the most important offensive players and defensive players on the floor for Louisville. To put himself in jeopardy right there with just a silly slap just makes no sense at all, especially from a senior.
Wildcats will shoot one and one the rest of the way here in the first half. Jarrett Prickett at the line. And what a source of confusion Prickett has been for Rick Pitino. He'll have a great game and then go out and play a game like he did against Ohio State on Saturday. 1 rebound in 28 minutes for a 6'9" guy.
Well, Rick's dilemma is the fact that whether he keeps him in and goes to him. He's given him great opportunities, but he believes his rebounding technique needs some work. If he can get involved, get the pressure off him, he'll be back to his old self. Old reliable.
Wheat somehow got out of the corner. Sims gets it across. And now back to Wheat to set it up. He's got 5 points, has hit a 3, draws the contact, and almost hit the shot.
And Rick Pitino almost hit the ref, figuratively, of course. But he got awfully excited. He stood right in front of the play as well. Take a look here. Excellent job. Wheat recognizes he's got to take this thing over. If there was contact, it might have been friction of the jerseys.
Pitino might have a case. Number 2 on Prickett. He sits down. Allen Edwards into the game for Kentucky. And Rick Pitino going with a very small lineup right now. No Mohammed, no McGlure, no Prickett.
But it's probably their quickest and best pressure lineup, and you can expect that if Kentucky scores on the other end, you know, they're going to turn it into overdrive.
Wheat missed the first. He's a 70% shooter from the line this year and hits the second to bring the Cardinals back within 2. Epps, Edwards, Padgett, Mercer, and Anderson on the floor for Kentucky. Anderson explodes to the baseline, pulls up and hits the soft shot.
Quick first step by Derek Anderson. That's the thing that makes him a superlative shooting guard. His ability to recognize and take that quick first step to get by the defender.
He's already got 11 points in this game of Kentucky's 21. Wheat clears out Dantzler. Now Smith posting. Not much of an offensive threat is Smith. And he simply kicks it back out. 7 on the shot clock. Wheat spinning. Couldn't get the roll, and underneath, Padgett battles with Sims. Held the ball, and the arrow favors Louisville.
Well, in that particular sequence, it's a great illustration of why Alvin Sims has to step up and be more aggressive in coming to the ball. DeJuan Wheat is playing right into Kentucky's hands. He's working his tail off offensively, and that's going to wear him down throughout the game, particularly in the second half. He's got to get some help.
Those 2 fouls on B.J. Flynn don't help. He's the second leading scorer for the Cardinals as Sims hits his second 3 of the game. Johnson, he thought it was going the other way.
Well, you see DeJuan Wheat receiving. You don't want to wear him out. But again, we talked about Sims stepping up, being more aggressive. And here he steps right into the shot, recognizes it, doesn't hesitate.
Sims leading Louisville with 8. Some changes for the Cardinals. Sanders and Flynn back into the game as Mercer gets to the line. Board underneath by the freshman Nate Johnson. DeJuan Wheat getting his first rest of the afternoon, and let's see how this plays out and how long Wheat sits down. Sanders, top bounce pass, no chance there. 12 turnovers committed by Louisville, yet they're only down a point. Inside to Mohammed back into the game. Nazim Mohammed, 8 points.
Well, that time Mohammed matched up against a smaller player at 6'10". Had his balance turned and faced, and that's what Kentucky was hoping to do at the beginning of the game. Pound it inside and wear down the smaller front line of Louisville.
What about Louisville with Flynn at the point right now as Sanders launches from outside. Bouncing ball back to Louisville. How does this change things with Flynn running the offense?
Well, certainly you need more precise execution because you don't have the guy who can create for you.
Well, Dantzler trying to create as he went to the basket.
And that's pretty much what we're talking about. To take a look on the other end, though, Nazim Mohammed, a nice job against the job inside by Mohammed against the frontline player. He faces and looks at the basket, and that's what he needs to do to stay effective. On the other end, though, you have to recognize that precise execution, getting the ball where you need to when guys break open, is what Louisville needs right now when you don't have your creator out there.
And sitting down for Kentucky. For a guy shooting 62% from the line this year, Dantzler sure has a nice stroke. He's 3 for 3 today. And to make it 4 for 4. Edwards. Offensive foul. B.J. Flynn, who Rick Pitino calls the flop artist because you get near him, he goes down.
That certainly wasn't a flop. It was excellent anticipation by Flynn. Cut off the angle and held his ground. You see it here. Well, his feet were moving a little bit. In a play like that, on a block charge call, that type of play, you have to be set in a defensive position. And Flynn may have slid his feet a bit, but nevertheless, he got the call, and that's what it's about.
And Louisville can take the lead. Allen Edwards, by the way, hobbling a little bit after picking up that foul. Still Louisville ball, but a nice effort by Turner. And a timeout on the floor. The Cardinals on a bit of a run have narrowed the gap to a single point.
Get under control.
How about Derek Anderson again? Well, we talked off the top of the show about Derek Anderson coming home to Louisville. He began his college career at Ohio State. Growing up, he always thought he'd be a Cardinal, but he went to Ohio State and then with the trouble there, transferred to Kentucky. He's got 4 dunks in this game and leads all scorers right now with 11 points.
Well, he has stepped up his game, particularly with the disappearance of Ron Mercer. You know, Mercer hasn't really gotten involved in the offense. He's got a donut right now, and someone from Kentucky has to step up. Anderson doing it not only on the offense in the half court and in transition, but defensively as well.
Nazim Mohammed has stepped up with 8 points in the early going for the Wildcats to help out Anderson. Alvin Sims with the ball has 2 threes and 8 points to lead Louisville.
And Louisville's execution, as we talked about, being as precise as it is, has given Denny Crum the luxury of leaving DeJuan Wheat on the bench to get that rest for that all-important second half.
B.J. Flynn driving baseline draws the foul, and again Rick Pitino just incensed at the call.
Well, what's happening is Louisville right now on offense, they've become the aggressors. They're forcing the issue. Kentucky likes to reach. They like to play you physically and bump you, and the calls are not going their way. But credit Louisville for taking it to Kentucky at this point.
Denny Crum with a lot of confidence in B.J. Flynn. 2 years as a walk-on, earned a scholarship this year. This guy just has a knack of either getting his shot off or getting to the line, and he's a good shooter from anywhere on the floor.
Well, that label, no fear, you can put it across this young man's chest.
Second leading scorer on the team at almost 14 a game. Got the friendly roll there, and that foul shot has given Louisville a 1-point lead. Look inside for Mohammed, but a turnover to the Cardinals. Ron Mercer's quick rest is over. He replaces Allen Edwards. Again, Mercer held off the score sheet so far.
And I think that time on the bench was not so much to rest him, but to lecture. He's got to get involved in the game, play aggressively.
13th turnover committed by Louisville. Mercer pulls up. There are his first 2 points of the day, and now Kentucky leads by 1.
That was a good example of how defense gets you active offensively. Mercer with a nice defensive play, then comes down and steps up for the jumper.
Now a 5-second call. 14th turnover.
Mercer made the steal, at least the overplay of the player to get the steal, and here he is pulling up again, aggressively going towards the basket. Got to get him started if you're Kentucky and you want to be successful here.
Nate Johnson back in for Eric Johnson for Louisville. It's been exciting, but it's been sloppy.
And Kentucky worked all this afternoon on their underneath the basket inbounds play.
Sanders! A sophomore out of Houston, a teammate of Ron Mercer's at Oak Hill Academy in Virginia, and Louisville leads one more time. It's wide open for 3. Mohammed. Epps again. And finally, Nate Johnson just bats it out of bounds.
Talked about Alex Sanders being an undersized center at 6'7", but the advantage he has is quickness and the ability to put the ball on the floor. Nice drive to the left. Despite being left-handed, it's still a nice drive to the left.
Mercer baseline, rattles out. A lot of teams get up against Kentucky, and you can see the fear in their eyes as they play, but Nate Johnson, a freshman with no fear at all, hits a jumper. Louisville not backing it off at all. They are attacking at every opportunity. Stolen, but a foul is called. Sanders on the reach-in.
Definitely a good call. Got a piece of Padgett's arm. But the fact remains is that Kentucky hasn't really faced this hostile a crowd this season with so many games on neutral court.
This is their first road game of the season. 3 home games, 8 neutral site. Coming up at halftime, Jason Jackson on ESPN News getting you up to date on everything going on in the world of sports. Kentucky played up in Alaska. They played here before in a neutral state game. But this is their first visit into truly hostile territory all year.
And going back to the fatigue factor we talked about, and we'll continue to revisit it, the one thing the crowd does is provides energy. Guys start playing on adrenaline, and it seems that Louisville has picked it up. They're not tiring.
Rick Pitino was worried someone like Alvin Sims would get to the rim for a couple of earth-shattering dunks that would get the crowd into it. The crowd hasn't needed any dunks to get into it today. 15 on the shot clock. Sanders looking for help. Found it just in time in Dantzler. Now DeJuan Wheat's back into the game. 1:20 left in the half. Got to get a shot off, and they won't. 15th turnover. Everybody getting run out of bounds along with the basketball, and it still belongs to the Cats.
Nazim Muhammad is having difficulty inside, not so much with the man who's guarding him, but with the help side rotation. When the ball is bounced or passed to him, he's got to recognize that rotation's coming. He's got to grab the ball with both hands. He's reaching out with one hand right now and having a difficult time receiving in the post.
Padgett from outside. The big man could shoot it, but not this time. And a great rebound by Dantzler.
Excellent block out. This is the thing that we talked about at the beginning of the telecast. Louisville has to block out and hold those blockouts.
People doubting this 10-0 record of Louisville. They've had 3 overtime wins over LSU, Boston College in double overtime, and at Arkansas. But still, the naysayers are out there. Right now, they lead Kentucky by 1. And how you wonder as they continue to throw away the ball. They've committed 16 turnovers in the first half.
Well, one of the big keys for Louisville to negate the effect of the turnovers has been their rebounding, particularly on the defensive boards, not allowing Kentucky an awful lot of second chance opportunities. Kentucky only has 4 second chance points. They surely came in here anticipating more.
Kentucky also has not hit a 3-pointer in the first half. 25 seconds to go in the half, about a 5-6 second differential between game clock and shot clock. Offensive foul on Anderson.
We thought this was going to be a key matchup and in the half-court set. Once again, I'm not so sure Johnson was set up, but a freshman doing a nice job defensively.
And Louisville takes a 20 to set up for the last shot of the half. How has Louisville arrived at a 10-0 mark? Their first 10-0 start in 22 years. Well, they've beaten some pretty good teams, as we mentioned. Unranked at the beginning of the year, they have moved up to number 14. Kentucky at number 3 did lose their first game to Clemson, but they've won 10 in a row since.
Well, in speaking with Denny Crum yesterday in his usual low-key style, he also wondered how good his team could be, but he was quick to point out that they have been tested, and he knows that they're good. It's just a question of how good. And tonight, he's getting a real feel for his guys. They're poised, they're enthusiastic, they're ready to play, and they're not backing down.
They lost 6 lettermen from last year's team, including Samaki Walker. And Nate Johnson got trapped and called time. Denny Crum wants to make sure it's just a 20. Wouldn't Samaki Walker, who left early for the NBA, wouldn't he help them in the middle? They could move Sanders maybe to power forward, but Denny Crum's not going to worry about who he doesn't have. He's got a good team here, as we remind you that ESPN News comes your way at halftime. Yet another controversy involving the Dallas Cowboys and all the Bowl Madness. Jason Jackson has all that for you.
As we take a look at Rick Pitino setting up the defense, certainly they're going to try to deny the ball in bounds, particularly DeJuan Wheat. But Louisville has to recognize, as they did not in regulation against Boston College on Sunday. DeJuan Wheat has to have the ball in these last second opportunities because he is the creator.
6.1 seconds to go. Wheat has taken only 3 shots and hit 2. Johnson forced one a little bit from the baseline. Edwards the rebound, and that'll do it for the first half here at Freedom Hall. Better than 19,000 on their feet. The hometown Cardinals lead by 1.
Everyone wants a quiet place to get away. Here's one within driving distance. The new Camry.
Turnover-filled affair. Coming up next on ESPN2, number 18, Texas, led by Reggie Freeman. They're headed to Providence to take on the Friars, and on ESPN later tonight, 9:30 Eastern. What a matchup. The fans have got their money's worth, and Louisville's got the lead, and one of the big reasons they're doing a job on Ron Mercer.
Well, they've played Ron Mercer, particularly Nate Johnson, the freshman. They've played him very physically. They've denied him out on the floor, and as we see in the post, Johnson is going to whip around, try and front, and what that does, it deters the passer from trying to get the ball inside. Also, the pressure out on the passers gives them a much tougher look. The other thing we talked about at the beginning of the telecast was someone other than DeJuan Wheat has to step up. Alvin Sims has done the job. He's the leading scorer for Louisville right now with 8 points, and he's played aggressively on the offensive end.
A look at the first half stats, and some of the numbers jump out at you. Kentucky did not hit a single 3-point field goal. They did force the turnovers. They did score off the turnovers, but Louisville, with many more rebounds and second chance points, that's what's really keeping them in the game.
Well, we expected Louisville to recognize they had to block out, hold those blockouts, and what they've been able to do is take away what Kentucky's famous for, hitting the boards in transition, getting the second chance opportunities.
Now, if Rick Pitino, as we take a look at what a lackluster first 20 minutes it was for Ron Mercer, if Rick Pitino was all fired up at the shoot-around this morning, we can only imagine what he was like at halftime, trying to inspire his team.
Well, Rick Pitino's philosophy in basketball is that the first half is really jockeying for position, and they try to fatigue the opponent. But the first 5 minutes of the second half is where he believes the games are won. And you can expect Kentucky right now to put it all out on the line in these first 5 minutes.
The first 3 field goals of the game for Kentucky were all by Derek Anderson and all dunks. Here's Anderson with the ball. Let's see if he, the Louisville native, can get off to a similar fast start here in the second half.
Louisville still doing a nice job of trying to overplay, force the shooters out further than they're accustomed to being.
And Scott Padgett just picked up a foul as he leveled Damian Dantzler.
You take a look at the foul by Padgett using the arms right here to try to get free. That's a frustration play right there.
We trying to get free to handle the ball. Mercer and Anderson waiting for him to trap, but Louisville will get it across with relative ease.
Well, Kentucky, as we mentioned, going to come out more aggressively defensively. The one guy they want to take the ball out of his hands would be DeJuan Wheat, and they tried to double him.
Has the pressure been less of a factor than you thought it would be?
Well, right now, they really haven't had an opportunity. Kentucky hasn't, because they haven't scored with the regularity in order to put the pressure on.
But Louisville starts the second half the way they played the first, with a turnover, 3-second violation. More turnovers already in this game in 21 minutes than they've averaged in 40 minutes coming in.
Kentucky's successful with their pressure when they're scoring. They shot only 41% in the first half. Can't press if you don't score.
Many of the Louisville errors unforced, if you will, in the first half. 3-second violations, a 5-second call. Alvin Sims will take it to the hole.
Aggressive play by Alvin Sims. Sims recognizes the opening. And as we said, this takes an awful lot of pressure off of DeJuan Wheat. Keeps him rested, keeps him fresh, and it forces Kentucky to focus on someone else.
Eric Johnson back into the game for Louisville, 6'3" sophomore. Kentucky may have the height and they may have more athleticism, but Louisville has the bigger bodies in Sanders, Johnson, and Sims. Kentucky just doesn't have the bulk to match up. Sims' 9th point, and Louisville has a 2-point lead.
Louisville picking up man-to-man full court, a little bit of pressure of their own to give it something to think about.
Now DeJuan Wheat giving up 7 inches to Ron Mercer, but it's Kentucky who gives up the ball.
And we mentioned before, what's making it easier for the Louisville defenders, particularly down low, is the pressure on the ball.
Both coaches with interesting choices on who's covering whom. Sometimes putting a big guy on a small guy, and sometimes matching up a little closer in height.
Well, they're doing a lot of switching out there, and because of the mobility of Louisville's big guys, they're not afraid to switch on smaller players.
Nate Johnson, the freshman, is having a good afternoon. That's his second field goal, 4-point lead. And now Mercer aggressively to the hoop. He's fouled.
Well, that's where Ron Mercer excels, in the open floor in a 93-foot basketball game, 94-foot basketball game. What's happened is Louisville's been able to control the tempo to a point where Kentucky's forced to play in the half court, and Mercer is just not nearly as effective there.
Prickett back into the game for Kentucky in place of Padgett. Mercer at the line for 2, just a sophomore, averaging better than 20 points per game. Some feel that sophomore is about as far as he's going to go in the NCAA, that he might head to the NBA next year.
Well, this is a learning process for him, and if he doesn't develop a feel for the half-court game, games like this will expose that weakness. You know, he's much better off sticking around for a while and learning this basketball.
Weed avoids the pressure and gets it over. 2-point Louisville lead. And a double dribble called, and yet another turnover. It's amazing Louisville is leading, considering how often they're just simply handing the ball back to Kentucky.
And they're working hard again on the boards, but taking care of the ball. Again, this pressure, even in the half-court, man-to-man, it kind of whittles away at you. And that time, another mental mistake. 18
turnovers committed by the Cardinals. Anderson at the top, leading all scorers in this game with 11.
Nice job by Johnson on Mercer, but Mercer frees himself and can't put it down.
Sanders thought about the long pass to Sims, settled for Wheat. Eric Johnson with him. Tough pass, but a block is called underneath. 3 players crash to the floor, and I think the foul is on Anderson, who might have gotten the worst of the collision.
Well, that time, DeJuan Wheat, who normally makes good decisions, may have waited a little too long. He had a man open on the right wing, got him the ball too late. That was Eric Johnson flying down the right side. Wheat should have given up the ball a little bit early and would have avoided the contact. Fortunately, it went his way.
Number 3 on Anderson. He sits down. Allen Edwards back into the game. Sanders has taken 2 threes, has yet to hit one. Now Sims. They double him right away. Open man is Flynn back into the game. Touch pass to Nate Johnson. Knocked out of bounds, still Louisville ball.
Good thought by Johnson right there, and you see Flynn coming over to give him a dap. Flynn didn't move without the ball. He passed it inside and stood there. Johnson hoping Flynn would move to the open spot for a jump shot, passed it there.
One of the things Kentucky worked on with the shooter out today, as soon as Sims gets the ball down low, they want an immediate double on him. Don't give him the baseline. Force him to make a play out of the post. Goes down there again, this time with Edwards covering him. Sanders drains it. 2-pointer.
That's what makes him a good passer, because he is an offensive threat. People have to honor him, and that opens up the passing lanes. That time Muhammad dropped back, and Sanders has the range.
He's got 6 points to go with 5 rebounds. 4-point Louisville lead, and listen to the noise. Spinning in the corner, Mercer. That is a big shot for Kentucky.
And a big shot for Ron Mercer's confidence. In the first half, he only took 3 shots from the floor. And here he's asking for the ball, so you know he feels it, and no hesitation.
That snapped an 0-for-7 stretch from the floor for the Wildcats. They're back within 1. And Louisville almost turned it over again, this time in the backcourt. Shot by Mercer also, Len, the first 3-pointer of the day for Kentucky.
Well, on that possession coming up the court, and you see the turnover, not an aggressive pass or play.
Sims took it right back from Edwards. Flynn wants it. Sanders gets it. Big turn of events for Louisville.
On that play, Sims made a lazy pass, but he made up for it with hustle on the other end and good recognition as they came back offensively.
Louisville by 3. Neither team has led by more than 5 at any point in this game. Mercer starting to feel it even more. Forced it, didn't go. Underneath, Mohammed. Nazim Mohammed into double figures with 10.
Without Wheat in the game right now, it's much tougher for Louisville to handle the pressure, although they've been precise with their passing.
Sims will put it on the floor. He gets cut off. Now starts in again and had it swatted away by Mohammed. Nate Johnson. Sims tries to penetrate, and Kentucky steals it again. Epps has Mercer with him. Epps all the way and fouled on his way up.
That last pass by Sims, which resulted in the turnover, you got to wonder if that was created by fatigue in that last exchange or just a careless pass. Sims has done that twice in the last couple of possessions for Louisville.
3 fouls now on Alex Sanders. He goes to the bench along with Nate Johnson and Alvin Sims. DeJuan Wheat has checked back in.
We talked about the type of pressure that Kentucky would apply in the first 5 minutes of the half. And you see Denny Crum making a wholesale substitution, taking out Sims, Sanders, and Johnson, his front line. He wants to give them some rest. They come back fresh.
Jamal McGlure, who has hardly played in this game, he had been starting every game for Kentucky. 6'10", freshman out of Toronto. He's in for Mohammed. And Epps reclaims the lead for Kentucky. Timeout on the floor. What a game we've got. 36-35 Cats. Flynn from the outset, and right now Kentucky leads Louisville by 1.
Well, Alvin Sims has been a major factor for Louisville, but in this sequence, he gets careless by trying to take 2 or 3 guys and gets a shot block, and then a lazy no-look pass, which you cannot do against a hustling Kentucky defense because they're going to make you pay on the other end.
Dantzler to inbound it for the Cardinals. DeJuan Wheat back into the game. Alvin Sims getting a rest. Sanders is out of the game as well. Bozak Smith on the floor now for Denny Crum. And B.J. Flynn going to help Wheat out again with the ball handling duties. DeJuan Wheat has gotten off only 3 shots so far in this game. Eric Johnson will muscle it home.
Sheer determination by Eric Johnson. Didn't really have a shot.
Prickett maintains control. Finds Edwards.
That should have been an offensive foul right there. Edwards using the left hand to push off.
Now Flynn wants everybody to clear out of there so we can go one-on-one.
Look at the hustle by Eric Johnson inside. He gets bumped, but still the presence of mind to locate the basket. And I think that's what made that shot. He looked up before he let it go.
And he's 6'3", 225, so he's not afraid to go in there. Turnovers by Louisville, and DeJuan Wheat attempting only 3 shots, and they're leading. And they've expanded on it.
Wheat once again letting the game come to him, not forcing anything.
Kentucky turns it over. Wheat from outside, missed the 3. Still, though, Rick Pitino wants a 20, even though Wheat missed the shot.
Talked about Wheat recognizing opportunities. Ron Mercer, he might as well go back and pick up his shorts and everything else on that fake.
Well, ring in the new year with a marathon of the 4-wheel variety. Beginning at midnight tonight on the Deuce, it's a NASCAR marathon revisiting all the 1996 Winston Cup races. Track Terry Labonte's battle to the championship against Hendrick teammate Jeff Gordon, two-time Daytona 500 winner Dale Jarrett, and seven-time champ Dale Earnhardt. Don't miss the NASCAR marathon starting tonight on ESPN2. Got a little basketball to settle between now and then. No, don't forget Texas and Providence behind us here on the Deuce. Rick Pitino's got a battle on his hands. McGlure looked inside for Prickett, and B.J. Flynn got in the passing lane. Louisville winning the little battles right now. We've talked so much about Louisville's 19 turnovers. Kentucky's committed 15 themselves. Flynn trying to get free around a screen. Lays it inside for Smith. Offense just not Bozak Smith's strength. Eric Johnson took down Mercer.
Well, that time B.J. Flynn did not make a good decision, recognizing Bozak Smith, and Denny Crum is telling him so. Bozak Smith not accustomed to playing inside, especially with the big guys. You know, that wasn't a good decision to get the ball into him, particularly when there were two players from Kentucky standing there waiting for him. You got to think who you want to have the ball in pressure situations.
And Alex Sanders out of this game with 3 fouls and with some kind of a cramp in his leg as well that he's trying to work out over in front of the Louisville bench. They need him back in there. Prickett puts it on the floor and then is taken to the floor. And another foul against the Cardinals.
Well, his absence, and we're talking about Alex Sanders, is big time. It looks as though he may have a Charlie horse. He's trying to stretch out that quadricep. But the bottom line is, without his presence inside, Kentucky's looking more and more to get their big people involved.
A couple of quick fouls on Eric Johnson. Big shot from outside. Mercer feeling it in the second half after a very quiet first half. Another three, and he's tied the game. Flynn gets behind the defense and had it swatted out of bounds.
Crowd's looking for a foul, but this is an excellent defensive play. Right here, all ball, as you see, from Derek Anderson. Denny Crum pleading his case, but a good job by the officials.
Smith again. Gives it to Wheat, sets the screen. Wheat inside. And the pass didn't find Flynn quickly enough for him to get off the shot. Prickett stripped Smith, but is called for the foul.
And that's a good example how good things happen if you're aggressive. That time, I don't think Bozak Smith even thought about what he was doing. He just went to the basket on a quick cut. Caught the ball, received nicely, and got fouled.
Jared Prickett has picked up his third foul. Smith to the line, where he is just 1 for 7 this season. Throw that out.
Well, to Smith's defense, he's missed a lot of games this year with a groin injury. He's had the flu over the last few days. He really hasn't had much practice time. And if you look at him, he looks a little peaked.
Started 21 games last year. 1 for 2. Missed badly. Alvin Sims the offensive rebound. Going to be still Louisville ball, I believe. Alvin Sims just back into this game and way up off the floor. Rick Pitino's not having any fun at all here in Louisville today. Hear the noise, and hopefully you can feel the atmosphere as well here in Louisville. Cardinals leading Kentucky by 1, and here's hoping these two games turn out just like this one. Another college basketball doubleheader on the Deuce coming up Thursday, beginning with Davidson heading up to Amherst to take on the Minutemen, and then a Big West battle between Nevada and Utah State. A couple of games for you Thursday on ESPN2. A tense affair for both coaches. Kentucky coming in on a 10-game winning streak, 10-1 on the season. Louisville an unbeaten 10-0, and they've moved up to number 14 in the rankings.
Certainly the questions about Louisville, were they able to handle the pressure? And they've done an excellent job here, even with DeJuan Wheat not handling the ball as much.
Flynn in for Dantzler. Now Flynn got it back. 2-point shot, and it's in. B.J. Flynn contributing.
And I think that's the first time Flynn has actually looked for that jump shot pretty much all afternoon. He's gone to the basket a few times, but he really hasn't spotted up.
That's his first field goal, give him 4 points. 3-point lead, Louisville. Mercer's had the hot hand for Kentucky in the second half. And a 3-second violation on Kentucky. Epps back in for Turner now for the Wildcats.
We take a look again. This time Flynn spots up, still looking to pass as he looks to his right, but recognizes no one's open. You know, what happened to the shooter mentality? I think he understands that's what it's going to take to win, to be unselfish, look for the open man. But when in doubt, put it up.
Timeout called by the Wildcats. Mercer couldn't get it in. They'll take a 20. Got another fantastic game for you a little bit later on tonight to help bring in the new year. Wake Forest, Tim Duncan. Utah, Keith Van Horn, 9:30 Eastern tonight on ESPN. Number 2 against number 7. Here we've got number 3 and number 14. Been a great December of basketball around the NCAA.
Well, you've had a lot of good matchups, rivalries coming out of the tournaments out west. You know, some scheduled games that have put teams together that no one really thought would be there. This Louisville-Kentucky game loomed to be large simply because Louisville has played so well this year.
That is the final 20-second timeout for Kentucky. Louisville's got 1. Each team still has its 2 full. Padgett working on Sims. Now Sims will shift out on Prickett. And Sims picked up a reach-in foul. Remember, he had a lazy foul in the first half. That's his 3rd.
Once again, another dumb foul, for lack of a better word, by Alvin Sims. Recognizing that Jared Pritchett is not going to burn you from 3-point range. You back off him a little bit, force him to come to you.
And now Sims dealing with Anderson. They can't afford to have Sims out of the game. Epps with a long 3, way short. Kentucky just 2 for 10 from 3-point range.
And again, without Wheat in the game, Louisville likes to spread the floor, use a lot of cuts, use their quickness.
Nate Johnson tried to scoop one up. Louisville managing without Wheat and Sanders.
So they're buying time right now.
And Mercer is heating up. He had just 2 points at the half. He's got 12 now. Flynn into traffic, finds Smith, and now they'll slow it up.
Well, this shows you the confidence Denny Crum has in his team. He doesn't mind playing from behind. He's going to leave this unit out here and milk them for as much as he can. If they keep it even, great. If they build on the lead, that's gravy.
5 seconds on the shot clock. Smith forces his way in. Too hard off the glass. Kentucky ball with a chance to reclaim the lead. Mercer, way off. Anderson. And finally, Prickett puts it in. 1-point Wildcat lead.
Kentucky now starting to assert itself on the offensive board.
Anderson is hammered by Dantzler. And one of these sudden momentum shifts that the Wildcats are famous for.
And that last sequence was a perfect example. You look at the offensive rebounding, something Kentucky's known for, and then like lightning, they set up the press and step in. Not a real good cross-court pass, a poor pass and a poor decision by Bozak Smith. Against a Kentucky kind of press, you never want to throw it across the lane.
And Denny Crum has seen this enough to know he's got to put the brakes on this skid right now. He called a 20-second timeout. 1-point Kentucky lead. DeJuan Wheat's going to come back into the game for the Cardinals as well.
Well, he feels right now he's gotten all that he could out of that particular lineup. We said he doesn't mind playing from behind, but certainly not too far behind against this Kentucky team.
Coming up behind us on ESPN2, another good-looking game. Texas and Providence. Tom Penders has himself a good team down there, led by Reggie Freeman. So Wheat comes back in, as does Sanders. Alvin Sims still on the bench. Anderson was fouled, so he heads to the line for a couple. He has not scored this half, and his 11 points in the first half, Len, all were pretty early. He's been shut down for about the last 20 minutes of play.
And they were pretty much in transition. Louisville has continued to turn the ball over, but they have been able to get back a bit and force Kentucky to go to a half-court set.
1 for 2 for Anderson, 2-point Kentucky lead, and Wheat to handle the ball. Long pass for Nate Johnson. And a foul on Padgett.
And again, Rick Pitino did a great job of scouting this Louisville team. He's turned to be a prophet. The only problem is his team isn't executing what they worked on this afternoon. And that was to protect against the long pass when Louisville lines up 4 across. That time Padgett fell asleep.
His third. Flynn, Wheat, Nate Johnson, Damian Dantzler, Alex Sanders for Louisville.
It's a nice job by Louisville, recognizing they need to score to keep pace, to tie this thing up. They're not going to take bad shots. They're going to try to run their offense.
Kick it inside. Sanders is doubled. 10 on the shot clock. Wheat for 3.
It's a good shot, probably the best one that they could get considering.
Urging the Cardinals for a little defense, and limping out there is the freshman Nate Johnson. He's going to sit down. Eric Johnson will come back in. Nate Johnson has been a factor at times today, aggressive, not shying away from Kentucky at all.
Well, you're not going to be able to measure his contribution on the stat sheet, but certainly the defense that he's played against Ron Mercer, the way he's gotten involved in changing shots, he has been a force out there.
Eric Johnson comes into play. Allen Edwards back into the game for the Cats. They slough off on Prickett, who finds a wide-open Edwards. Got his man in the air and then drew the foul on his way up.
We'll leave it to Kentucky to exploit a weakness. Eric Johnson comes into the game, and they run a play right at his man. It's kind of like a replacement for a cornerback, and the quarterback comes out and goes right at him right away. He's not warm. Maybe mentally he's not in the game so far. It's little things like that that win games for you.
Number 3 on Eric Johnson. That is the first point for Allen Edwards. Misses the second. Offensive rebound, and Anderson the putback. And Kentucky has just matched the biggest lead of the game at 5. Now the poise of the Cardinals will be tested. Johnson picked off a pass that was actually intended for Sanders. Now here's Sanders.
Nice job. Couldn't put it down.
Padgett for 3. Kentucky starting to get the ball on the offensive glass, and Anderson is heating up again. Both Anderson and Mercer have been cold for a while, but they're starting to take over now with 28 points between them.
I think Kentucky now smells the fact that Louisville is tired. They're not getting off the floor as quickly as they did before. They're not going after the loose balls.
A 7-point Wildcat lead, 7:49 to play. Welcome back to Louisville. In the last 3 minutes and change, Kentucky's gone on a 10-0 run to turn this game around. What have they done?
Well, what Kentucky has done is that they've sensed the fatigue in Louisville and capitalized on it. They've been able to crash the offensive boards a little harder. They've been able to create some turnovers. Some of them have been unforced, but certainly they've taken advantage of them on the other end in transition.
Louisville led by 1 at the half. They are unbeaten this year at 10-0. And they get it over. Sims has Sanders with him. Sims got up in the air in trouble and got blocked by Paget. Wheat from outside won't go. It's still up in the air, and Paget tips to Epps. Smart play by Paget.
And again, though, another example of Louisville not as quick to the ball as they were in the first half. And certainly on the jump shots, it doesn't seem as though DeJuan Wheat has the legs for his jumper any longer.
Inside, 3 Cardinals converge. Sean Prickett.
Again, we talked about the ball coming off the board. Alex Sanders, who spent a lot of time on the bench with a little bit of an injury, the only one on the boards for Louisville. The ball was loose in the air. Not one Louisville player got off his feet to go after it.
And Sanders just picked up his 4th foul on the play. Ron Mercer's going to come in for Prickett. Prickett may have gotten poked in the eye on the play, and he was the shooter, so Ron Mercer comes off the bench for the free throws. Nice way to pad the point total. And Mercer is doing that here in the second half. 11 of his 13 since the break. A 12-0 run now. Flynn. That'll end that run and get Louisville back within 7.
Right here is where Louisville has to make their stand if they're going to avoid this loss.
Paget being guarded by Sanders, who's got 4 fouls, got loose inside. Track beat now, and Flynn off the back rim. Sims the follow. Oh, and it almost went.
I was about to leave.
Got a knack for drawing that contact.
Well, the point I was making is defensively is where Louisville has to make it stand. They've got to continue to pressure the ball so they don't get easy looks inside like the lob to Paget. Kentucky, when they sense the weakness and the fatigue, they're going to go right at your heart, which is inside the paint, and they've been successful in the last few minutes in doing that.
Public address announcer called for 2 shots, and B.J. Flynn right away said, wait a minute, that's 3. He was beyond the line. And Flynn is about as good as it gets. 87% for the year from the line. And he cuts a 9-point deficit to 6 just like that. Last 5 Louisville points scored by B.J. Flynn.
And that type of scoring also forces Kentucky back to their half-court offense where Louisville can set up and play a much tougher brand as opposed to the transition.
Mercer off for Anderson. Prickett alone underneath, missed the follow. Flynn's down on the floor underneath the basket, and finally a call.
Well, this is the type of offensive rebounding that Kentucky expected. You take a look at the grabbing of the jersey by Damian Dancer. That's a sign of fatigue. But this is the type of rebounding Kentucky expected from the beginning of the game, being able to crash the offensive boards against a much smaller Louisville team.
And trouble here for the Cardinals. Alex Sanders has picked up his 5th foul. He's done. He will leave with 8 points and 5 rebounds. Nate Johnson comes back in, but there goes a lot of the Louisville size.
Well, in size, not so much in height, but in girth and the ability to block people out. You know, Alex Sanders' contribution to this game is far greater than the line score shows.
Kentucky with Prickett and Paget, both 6'9" players on the floor. Louisville with no one over 6'6". And Kentucky's got a couple of 6'10" players on the bench. Nazir Mohammed, who had a big first half, has been a non-factor here in the second half. Prickett 1 for 2, 7-point Kentucky lead. Sims on the move. Wheat spins, gets inside, kicks it out. Sims. Flynn in there battling, and it comes back to Wheat. Fresh 35. Quick talk for Pitino and the Cats.
And I think what Rick is telling his guys is that you've got them on the ropes now. It's time to put them away. Certainly the way you do that, again, is to continue to get the ball off the board, both offensive and defensive. That time Derek Anderson is trying to sneak in a few points.
Well, whoever gets him, it's going to be 2 shots the rest of the way for Kentucky. 10 fouls on Louisville, and now Anderson's going to be ushered out. Scott Padgett's going to be welcomed in.
And you look at Scott Padgett protesting. That's not a good sign when you don't want to step up to the line for 2 easy ones. Well, this will tell the tale right now. Dantzler stepped out. Actually, he did foul Derek Anderson. So Anderson was correct. The blocking foul was committed against Derek Anderson by Dantzler.
Padgett hits the first.
We all stand corrected.
And Padgett's no slouch at the line. 8 for 8 now this year. Just his 4th game back from academic problems. And the lead's back up to 9. He's got to get it over, and he does. 5:40 to go.
The way that Louisville's going to get back into this game is DeJuan Wheat. He's had sufficient rest throughout this game. He's going to have to take this game over, create for himself, and also make other people better.
He's done that. Did it against Arkansas. Did it against Boston College. And a couple of overtime wins. Sims missed inside, and Kentucky with a chance to push this into double digits.
So what's happening also, look at the postmen for Kentucky. After they set the picks, they really show strong to the ball in the paint. They're getting in very deep, and Kentucky's able to get it to them and create opportunities.
Mercer had a nice idea down to Padgett, but it was knocked away. Nate Johnson really bothered by that ankle that he turned a little bit earlier. He's limping again, and Eric Johnson has come back in. Denny Crum's team led just 1 for its last 11 from the floor.
And again, the revisit fatigue factor, but when you play against Kentucky, you always have to think about it.
No fatigue for Derek Anderson. He's got 19. Just a point shy of his average. And remember, doing all this right in his hometown of Louisville.
You know, the Kentucky team last year, and certainly what we see this year, they're like a seasoned veteran fighter. They recognize when you got someone on the ropes, and now they're going in. They don't want to punch themselves out, but they're going in methodically for the kill.
Wheat can't hit the jumper. Epps on the run. Nice look for Anderson. Prickett the easy 2. And Kentucky's starting to run away with it.
And that time again, another example of fatigue. Only 2 white shirts back defensively, even though Kentucky had possession of the ball. A lot of guys huffing and puffing at half court. They just can't make it over. They're spent.
Sims to the basket. Offensive foul. Number 4 on Sims. .57 left. Kentucky has bumped its lead to 14. Well, for 30 minutes they traded punches here at Freedom Hall, but now the defending champs from Kentucky are really flexing their muscles.
And right now, you take a look at that replay of Kentucky taking Louisville apart methodically. You see the dribble off the leg by B.J. Flynn. Any coach will tell you that's a sure sign of fatigue right there. A sure sign of mental fatigue as well as physical. When you can't handle the ball anymore, that was a kind of an unforced error on that situation.
Louisville led by 1 at the half, led by as many as 3 in the second half, but a 12-0 run by Kentucky turned the game around.
And a 32% field goal shooting by Louisville is also a sign.
Tony Williams into the game now, 6'7" freshman out of Louisville, checks in for the first time for the Cardinals, wearing number 3. Here he is, puts it up soft, lays it in.
You know, coming in here, Rick Pitino had told just about anyone who wanted to listen, you can't call his team here a great team because they haven't really proven it. They've played great at times, but I have to believe he's going to have to change that feeling about his team, coming in here to a hostile crowd, in-state rivalry, and really, again, holding their poise, working their game plan, and wearing Louisville down and taking advantage of it when the opportunity arose.
They've got some quality wins out of conference this year. They annihilated Syracuse, beat Indiana, Purdue, College of Charleston, Ohio State, Georgia Tech. Baseline jumper for Padgett. Another weapon that Rick Pitino can call on.
But going back to the scheduling, you know, those were excellent wins, but this one is different because, again, you're on the home floor of an in-state rivalry with a sea of red. And the team that you're playing against, Louisville, the home team, played pretty well for, as you said, 30 minutes.
15-point Kentucky lead, 2:20 to go. Sims baseline. Nothing dropping for Alvin Sims or for the Cardinals at all in the second half. Bodies everywhere. Flynn, always trying to draw the foul, settles for the standard three-pointer.
But I like what he does. He holds his position. He kept his arm in shooting position, just waited for the defender to pass him by.
He leads Louisville with 12. Derek Anderson leads Kentucky with 19. Mercer 14. Padgett 11. Mohammed 10. 4 players in double figures for the Cats. Timeout called with 1:41 to go. Rick Pitino wants time. Kentucky about to put an end to Louisville's unbeaten start to the season. Well, that one's shaping up as a good matchup as well. This one was for a long time. Louisville never in control, but in the lead for a great deal of this game. But then that pressure, it just took its toll.
And the bulk of those 45 deflections and the points off turnovers came in the second half. We talked about the Kentucky philosophy of using the first 5 minutes to set the tone. It took them a little bit longer, but they eventually wore Louisville down, and they were able to get in the passing lanes, create a more difficult obstacle for Louisville to get to the basket, and Louisville just wasn't successful.
And it was Ron Mercer at the offensive end, held in check so completely in the first half, who hit a couple of threes and began looking for the ball, looking for the shot. He's got 12 in the second half, and he was part of that big 12-0 run that changed the course of this game.
Well, he can sit down and recognize that maybe he needs to come out here with that aggressive mentality from the beginning. But certainly he picked it up in the second half, and I think Rick Pitino has to be pretty happy with the way he's responded.
You could see right from the beginning that Derek Anderson, playing here in Louisville, was pumped up with the 4 dunks in the first 5-6 minutes of the game. One of them just spectacular. Anderson with 19 points, and Scott Padgett in just his 4th game. Another offensive weapon for Pitino. He's got 13 points. Got the start today in place of Prickett. Sims, too tall for Johnson. Back to Kentucky. 25th turnover committed by Louisville.
For Kentucky, Ron Mercer, number 33.
Mercer back into the game right away for Prickett. Those numbers really don't tell the whole story.
It's all about winning, and Mercer came to the ball game when it counted.
5-second violation. It'll go over to the Cardinals. Still working, isn't he?
Well, he recognizes that these are the times when you have to continue coaching. This is what happens in March. You know, if you can get them focused and disciplined to play a certain style at a certain pace throughout the game, when you get to March, that's when the greatness comes.
Foul underneath on Mercer as he and Sims battled for the rebound. A reminder that coming up next, Texas and Providence on ESPN2. Reggie Freeman, Austin Crozier. Denny Crum's team about to suffer its first loss of the season. 10-0 for the first time in 22 years, but about to fall to 10-1. Sims misses the front end. Prickett, the rebound and the elbow as Flynn got in there. They're going to head the other way for shots for Kentucky.
Well, once again, we talked about the intensity, particularly of this rivalry. Nobody's going to back down, regardless of what the deficit is. Certainly, they're continuing to play physical basketball. You know, these guys, a lot of them will see each other again. And maybe sooner than we think. These are definitely two NCAA tournament-bound teams.
And great preparation for both teams for their conference play as well. We talked about Kentucky's schedule. Louisville's hasn't been easy. Ranked 4th in the nation in difficulty last year, and another tough one to start this year. Not a lot of people go down to Fayetteville and come out with a win.
Well, I think Denny Crum, the mathematician that he is, recognizes that certainly you got to play the percentages, and you know, very seldom does a team go on to postseason play when you have talent if you're not tested throughout your schedule, and he's been able to do that with teams throughout the 80s and here into the early 90s. That's why he's been so successful.
Williams misses. Sims tried to jam the follow, and now Eric Johnson will foul Jared Prickett as we're inside the final minute. 16-point lead for Rick Pitino, although he doesn't look comfortable with it.
Well, he's not going to look comfortable because he's afraid his team will get comfortable. And right now is the time, as they're entering conference play, he wants them to feel more uncomfortable. They're going to look back on this game and recognize that they got out of the block slowly, but they're going to get solace in the fact that they were able to regroup, apply the pressure, play their basketball. They were never out of the game. They just weren't running on all cylinders.
Dantzler in for Eric Johnson.
Take a look at these free throw attempts. That's indicative of the fact that Kentucky began to pound the ball inside, put a lot of pressure on the Louisville interior defense, and certainly the loss of Alex Sanders through foul trouble didn't help.
B.J. Flynn got way up in the air. Tony Williams with another field goal. And Wheat commits the foul on Padgett. 37.2 seconds, 15-point Kentucky lead. Louisville's going into conference. They're going to be at UAB on ESPN2 very shortly. Just a few days away.
We talked about Denny Crum recognizing how good his team is. I think he has to be buoyed by the fact that his team played with Kentucky for that period of time. He knows he doesn't have the depth on his bench, so he's got to resign himself to that. But one thing he can point to his team for future games is you played these guys even. You're not going to meet a lot of teams with that type of depth that play that type of pressure. You're capable of playing with anyone, and going into conference play, you know, they should look to dominate or feel as though they can dominate, because there's not a team, and not even Cincinnati, there's not a team in Conference USA that matches Kentucky.
Kind of an unknown quantity last year as well, but they got to the Sweet 16 and only lost to Wake Forest by a single point. Almost made it to the Final 8, and now this year a great start to the season as Flynn misses the long jumper. Anderson still in there. Edwards dishes off, always unselfish, and Mercer the finish. Rebound Epps. Final 15 seconds. The score will not indicate what a close game this was for 30 minutes. Louisville led midway through the second half. A 12-0 run by Kentucky put it away. And with just a couple of seconds remaining, Anthony Epps and the Wildcats are about to win their 11th game in a row.
You know, in this state of Kentucky, it's a funny thing when you have Louisville and you have Kentucky, because, you know, you have some Louisville fans who root for Kentucky anytime they play someone other than Louisville. And in this situation, I guess the bandwagon jumpers are starting to jump on the Kentucky bandwagon.
Anderson goes out with a game-high 19, one of 5 Wildcats in double figures, and how sweet is this for him coming back to his hometown?
Well, it's either the bandwagon jumpers jumping on the Kentucky bandwagon or that 100 tickets that Kentucky
a lot of noise.
Yeah, they're making an awful lot of noise right now.
They had hundreds up in Alaska at the Great Alaska Shootout. They've got an unbelievable following, and it's over. The final score, 74-54 Kentucky. Texas and Providence is coming up next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Let's go to Dave Sims and Leo Rouse.